Welcome back to the RCV Roundtable podcast with Nikita.
And Austin. Thank you guys for hopping on again and joining us. We had a great audience for the first episode, and we're so excited to keep building this RCV roundtable community with you guys and share more podcasts with you guys.
So we did ask a couple of questions on Spotify to interact with, our brand new audience. And our first question was who was the best host of the RCV Roundtable? So let me check real quick. We had a total of 6 votes, with 83.3% answering the question, who's the best host of the RCV Roundtable as Nikita, and 16.7% answering the question with the answer Austin.
It's okay. The audience will warm up to me over time, you know, but a round of applause for Nikita, everyone. But as we mentioned
Thank
last
you.
time, this episode's going to be really going into depth about how ranked choice voting works, and then we'll play a little game later called Myth or Fact with some statements regarding ranked choice voting.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be your amazing game show host. I'm gonna be like, I don't remember the lady, but you know the lady who's like this for like the Wheel of Fortune, or like, you know what I'm talking about? What's
Mm-hmm.
her name? Yes, but I'm that lady. I Someone put her name in the comments because I don't remember it, but I'm that lady.
You're the new Alex
Okay, so
Trebek.
I would make a great Alex Trebek, actually.
Rest in peace.
All right, so for some context on some ranked choice voting, we're going to be going over step by step the entire process.
Yeah. So if our lovely Nikita would share a quick little graphic with us.
So for some context on ranked choice voting, we're going to be going through step by step through the entire process, so that way it's super transparent and we can explain to you guys every single process of this entire ranked choice voting system.
Yeah. So in our first step, the voters are gonna first rank their candidates in order of preference.
So exactly. So instead of just selecting a voter's top choice for the election, voters are going to have the option to rank multiple candidates according to their preference. So depending on the system, a voter can rank as many or as few candidates as they want for their top choice to their last choice.
Yeah. And then in our second step, what we're gonna first do is we're gonna count all the first choice votes.
Exactly. And so as the counting process starts, all of the first choice candidates for every candidate are going to be tallied. And if any candidate receives an outright majority of more than 50% of the votes, then that candidate wins the election. And you just finish right there, just like any traditional like voting system that we have currently.
Yeah, and then in the case that there is no majority, we're gonna eliminate the least popular candidate.
Exactly. So if there's no candidate that has the majority, so more than 50% of the first choice votes, then the candidate that had the fewest first choice votes, so the candidate that's ranked the least basically for most of the people, is going to be fully eliminated from the race.
And then in our next step, we're gonna retally the votes.
Okay, so like I said, after eliminated the least popular candidate, then the second choice votes of those who were ranked eliminated candidates as their first choice are then redistributed to the remaining candidates. So now everybody who had votes for that last candidate as their first choice, now their second, third, fourth, fifth, etc. candidates are now going to be retallied, so that way they get reshuffled into the mix.
Yes, and then we see if a candidate has a majority again, and if not, we're gonna redo the process all over again.
Exactly. So then the recounting process continues. So now that we have redistributed all of the votes of that least popular candidate that we eliminated, we recalculate the votes and totals for the candidates. And then now, if any candidate has the majority of the votes, they're the winner.
Yes, and overall, we just repeat this process until one candidate has a majority of the votes.
Yep. And if, again, no candidate has a majority yet, then the candidate with the fewest votes, again, will get eliminated, and all of their votes for their third, fourth, fifth, sixth choice or whatever are going to be redistributed to the remaining candidates. And this process continues until one candidate has a majority of the votes and they are declared the winner.
So overall, we hope this clears up some confusion and we will show an actual sample ballot because it's not really that hard for people to really comprehend a ballot this way. I mean, we make rankings all the time in daily life of our favorite ice cream, favorite sports teams, um, and yeah, in a lot of places, a lot of voters have found it really easy to rank candidates.
All right, so now I'm going to share with us an example sample ballot so that way we can kind of go over with you guys exactly what you'd be seeing if you would be going to the polls right now.
In the first column, you would only mark one bubble, and that would be your first choice.
All
So
right, what's your favorite color, Austin?
mine is personally blue. I know it's kind of basic, but I like blue.
Wait, mine is also blue.
And then second choice, I would have to say I like the green. I like the green.
I would beg to differ. I would say my next choice is purple, but we'll go along with your favorite colors.
Well, I guess that's good because my next choice would be purple.
Okay, fine, fine, fine. That's a good compromise. We love a compromise.
And then I would mark pink as my fourth choice and then orange as my fifth.
All right, let's check this ballot. Okay, and we did it. So as you can see, we've ranked our choices. First is blue, second is green, third is purple, fourth is pink, and fifth is orange. We filled the entire ballot out correctly, and now we can collect our sticker if we wanted to. So that's literally exactly how you would set up your ballot if you were to um, go to the polls where there was a ranked choice voting system, and it's that easy. You rank it exactly in your preference.
Yeah, make sure that whenever you are ranking candidates, you only fill in one bubble per column. Every ballot will
Yep.
look different, but they'll have tons of instructions and it's at the end of the day, it's really easy to do. And if you guys have any other questions regarding the process, do not hesitate to let us know through the comments or through our email at the RCV roundtable at gmail.com. You can also look at our website at rankthevote.us.
Okay, so that was a great example of exactly what you would do, like we said earlier. So now we're going to get into the actual meat of the episode where we're going to unravel the not so secret of ranked choice voting. So, Austin, are you ready to play myth or fact?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty confident. I mean, I have to know all these facts because I'm canvassing people out here in Arizona and I have to be ready for any question that comes my way. So bring it on.
Oh, dang. Okay, okay. He's ready. He's ready to go. So basically, how we're going to play is I'm going to present you with a series of statements related to ranked choice voting. And you have to decide whether it is a myth or fact. So, um, all right, I guess let's get started.
Oh, yes, I'm gonna eat this up.
Okay, we'll see about that one. Okay, so statement number one, ranked choice voting is a new concept.
Entirely a myth.
Okay, so you are correct. So I'm going to go into a little bit of context about each of these statements as well. So between 1912 and 1930, limited forms of ranked choice voting, typically like just with two rankings, were implemented and subsequently repealed in Florida, Indiana, Maryland, Minnesota, and Wisconsin.
Yeah, and actually, in fact, back in the 1970s, they implemented it in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and elected their first black mayor. But then subsequently, racial tensions and everything, they repealed it. There's a lot of context to that, and it's unfortunate that they repealed it because they elected a black mayor. But also, regardless, Australia and Ireland have used this kind of ranked choice voting in their elections for over 100 years. Um, and actually, in fact, Australia's preferential system was introduced all the way back in 1918, like over like so long ago. So this is not a new concept at all.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Like you mentioned, there's a lot of racial ties that kind of go into our voting systems from literally when it was created. And as you can see, like we talked about in Ann Arbor, Michigan, the fact that a Black mayor was elected, and that's what caused it to get ranked choice voting repealed. Shows a lot about just the history of the electoral system in our country and how it's kind of been um, throughout literally all of its existence been against minorities. And ranked choice voting would actually give a chance for many different voices that you typically wouldn't see get a chance to actually be on that national stage. So I think that's so vital and important to our democracy to make sure that we have an array of voices presented and to have the best candidate come out on top according to the voters.
Yes, snaps of that.
Oh my God, thank you. I got snaps from Austin. Okay, all right. Statement number two, ranked choice voting guarantees that every voter's ballot get counted.
Fact.
Okay, that was a softball. I'm gonna give that to you because that was a softball. Ranked choice voting ensures that even if a voter's first choice candidate does not win, their vote will still be counted for their subsequent choices, giving more weight to each individual's vote.
Yeah, and I'd like to also mention that sometimes people will like to say that ranked choice voting means that you're counting people's votes more than once and that it violates the one person, one vote concept. However, it does not at all. You know, each time that there's a round in ranked choice voting, your vote is only be considered at one time. You don't get to vote multiple times with one ballot. It's just that each round of when it goes, your vote is only being counted once.
Exactly. And a typical term that we hear with ranked choice voting is also instant runoffs. And that's because that's kind of how it works. We go into the next candidate and the next candidate until we reach a candidate that has a majority of the votes. So it's not that you're voting more than once, it's just that you're kind of like doing those additional steps within one ballot. So that way it makes it easier for voters themselves. Yeah. So snaps to you, Austin, for getting that. But you know what? Okay, I do want you to win because I know that you're educated on this topic, but I don't want you to dethrone me as the best host of this podcast by winning either. So let me see if I can trip you up with the next one. But this is an easy one as well. Okay, statement number three, ranked choice voting helps increase voter turnout and voter engagement. This one's too easy.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's really after ranked choice voting has been instituted in a lot of places, it's been associated with higher turnout and higher engagement, especially among younger voters.
And that's exactly why we're here. So basically, ranked choice voting can enhance voter engagement by providing more choice and allowing for voters to express their preferences more accurately, like we mentioned within our example ballot. In addition, ranked choice voting can also encourage candidates and campaigns to engage with broader range of voters, since candidates are aware that they need to appeal to a wider base of voters beyond their core supporters. They may need to adopt more inclusive campaign strategies, address a broader range of issues, and seek to build more coalitions. This can then lead to increased voter interest and participation. And there have been plenty of studies and real world examples that suggest that there's a positive correlation between ranked choice voting and voter turnout. For instance, in cities as San Francisco and Minneapolis, they have implemented ranked choice voting, and they have been a modest increase in voter turnout compared to previous elections without ranked choice voting.
Yeah, I mean, just to add on, yeah, they've done researchers in Iowa and Wisconsin in a 2021 study found that youth turnout in cities that have RCV was higher than youth turnout in other cities that do not have ranked choice voting. In fact, they even done a more comprehensive study as Nikita mentioned, in Minneapolis, where there was a 10% increase in turnout after it was implemented in 2009 in Minneapolis and 2013 for St. Paul. So
Yeah, and
the
and
research
exactly
shows.
like The research shows, like we mentioned in the first podcast, the whole point of us even having this podcast and having this movement is so that way the younger voters, the actual people who will be impacted by all of these decisions made by the politicians that we are supposed to elect, are going to be representing our voice in what we want in the world. And that includes such an array of issues. So that just gives us more an opportunity to have our voices heard and be represented in a government that we're supposed to be encouraged to participate in. Sorry, a little bit of a rant there. I get really passionate about this stuff, as you can
I
tell.
mean, as you should.
Thank you. Thank you. Ooh, okay. This one's a little bit of a tricky one. I want to kind of slip you up on this. Ranked choice voting eliminates the need for political parties.
It's an entire myth.
You are definitely correct. Ranked choice voting definitely does not eliminate political parties, but does offer more opportunities for independent or third party candidates to kind of compete in a more even and level playing field.
Yeah, like this is entire myth, this statement. I mean, if you look to Australia and Ireland, they still have multiple strong parties that are very competitive, as well as numerous smaller parties as well. I mean, now Maine and Alaska have instituted it, and Democrats and Republicans are not gone there. So ranked choice voting will not eliminate political parties at all.
So everyone who is super into Democrats or super into Republicans, do not worry. Just because we're introducing and trying to implement ranked choice voting does not mean you guys are going to go anywhere. We just want to have a bigger platform for more voices to speak out. That does not mean eliminating any parties, but that just means bringing more people onto the table. Okay, so our next statement is that RCV gives an advantage to Democrats.
An entire myth, and I'm gonna rant about this one a little bit.
Oh, I can tell you're ready. You've had this one cooking.
Oh, please. But yeah, like a lot of people have complained after seeing Democrat Mary Peltola in Alaska win the Alaska House seat after decades of Republicans holding the seat. And they're like, well, that's an example of how it like biases Democrats. We Republicans have always held this seat, and now a Democrat wins after having ranked choice voting. But that's not the case at all. The system, ranked choice voting, just allows for more for those that have the most broad appeal to win. I mean, if you look at it, there were Republicans that crossed over to go vote for Mary Peltola in their rankings. And so ultimately, it's just the true consensus candidates that win. And in fact, in studies show that 62% of survey respondents support Alaska's new primary system. They like their system. And in fact, this is not even a partisan issue at all. Democrats and Republicans both use this system in their primaries in multiple states and this has bipartisan appeal. I mean, in fact, if we look to Virginia, they used ranked choice voting for the first time back in 2021 to choose their gubernatorial, lieutenant gubernatorial, and attorney general candidates. And those all Republicans in their primary won with ranked choice voting. And guess what? They went on to win the general election. And that was the first time in nearly a decade where Republicans actually won a big major general election in Virginia. So ranked choice voting just really shows that people can reach across the aisle and it brings together broadly supported candidates that ultimately win. I mean, a majority of Virginia Republican primary voters approved of using ranked choice voting in their primaries. And so this really isn't a partisan issue at all. It doesn't favor one party or another. It's just ultimately it rewards the candidates that are able to build a broad coalition, get over 50% of the vote, and appeal to the most amount of voters.
Yeah, exactly. If anything, it kind of promotes the bipartisanship because it's usually very easy for candidates to kind of stick to their base and try to get their base as rallied as much as possible. But this system kind of goes directly against that because you have the opportunity to go issue by issue and let other voters know that, hey, we might not agree on exactly the same things, but there are still places where we can find common middle grounds. And that's exactly what democracy is about. It's about compromising. It might not be perfect, it might not be pretty, it could be definitely ugly. But it's about finding those moments where we can actually agree and can come to a compromise and build a better state of the world that we all kind of agree more on. So, yeah, definitely, I don't think it's a much of a partisan issue as the media or really anyone says that it is. And I'm really happy to see that, there are both sides of the aisle that have shown success stories due to ranked choice voting. Okay. Finally, our last statement. If you get this one right, you will dethrone me as the best host of the RCV Roundtable podcast. So for my sake, I hope you get this wrong. But okay, so last statement. It is too complicated for voters to understand.
This is such a big myth that is pulled and told about ranked choice voting. And yeah, it's a big myth. It's not complicated as we showed before.
Yes, exactly. As we went through the literal example ballot with the favorite colors, many opponents of ranked choice voting like to say that we shouldn't implement the system just because it's too confusing for voters. But this is clearly not true. As we had shown earlier, in 2022, 85% of Alaskan voters reported that ranked choice voting is simple, and it was their first time ever voting with a ranked choice voting ballot in their elections. So it just goes to show that, like, as long as we explain to voters clearly how they're supposed to vote, it is not a complicated system because we rank things all the time. Our preferences, our needs, our wants. We know our priorities and we know what we like because I would like to say that a lot of us are opinionated people. And so that kind of just goes to show in our ballots as well.
Yeah, I mean, just to add on, back in 2021, when New York City first instituted ranked choice voting, nearly all voters across every ethnic group, 95%, said that the ballot was simple to use and that they understood ranked choice voting extremely or very well. I mean, we as Nikita said, we rank things all the time. Like I rank my favorite candies. I like have a ranking of what favorite cars I'd want in the future. Favorite cities I've been to. I mean, people probably have a ranking of their favorite Marvel movies they have. So why is ranking candidates any different? I like to say to like people that I talk to when canvassing that I don't think Australians or the Irish are any smarter than Americans. So ranked choice voting shouldn't be a problem for us. And once we educate people how ranked choice voting operates, people get it and they're enthusiastic to use it.
Okay, so if we're going to talk about ranking candies, I would like to hear your top three in order from best to, like, I guess third best.
Okay, my best is Reese's peanut butter cups. I don't No, yes, Reese's peanut butter
I'm not a
cups.
peanut butter fan. I'm so sorry. I
Okay,
know I'm gonna get the hate.
I
I
think that's
deserve the
fair.
hate.
I think that's fair. I think if you don't like peanut butter, but I really like Reese's peanut butter cups.
Okay.
Um oh, I don't know. Do you know those like nerd gummy clusters? Those are so good.
They're so good.
Yeah, and then Twin Snakes by Haribo. They're like sweet and sour. I like all the Haribo gummies. But anyways, those are my top three. Very delicious. I like all three. But see, look at I just ranked right there. I mean, when I talk this past Saturday, I was tabling at a Juneteenth event and I was asking kids to come up and being like, rank these starbursts in order, like in your order of preference from your favorite over here to your least favorite down here. And I was like, boom, you just rank choice voted. Like it's super easy, not complicated at all.
If a 10-year-old can do it, you can do it too. But okay, all right. You got all six of the statements correct. So I guess I have to concede since you did such a good job with that. And now that means that you are the first winner of Myth or Fact from the RCV Roundtable. But okay, how about this? Let's do a compromise because this is a democracy. This is a democracy. How about we say that we're both the greatest hosts ever?
I think so. Here, I'll shake it.
We're shaking our hands for those who are not
Virtually.
watching the
Yeah.
video.
Love you, Nikita.
Of course.
Anyways, okay. So quick little thing to close off. So we appreciate any donations that come our way, in order to help keep this podcast going on and keep building our volunteer and grassroots base. If you'd like to donate, our Venmo is rank the vote US. The R the V and the US are all capitalized. So yeah, signups are rolling in across the country. We're just growing day by day. So if you're interested in helping us grow even further, hit us up at our new Venmo account at Rank the Vote US.
Yeah, it's actually super, super exciting. We just created a Venmo like last week, and our boss sent us an email being like, "Oh my God, guys, my phone will not stop dinging from these Venmos." And that was like so amazing to hear because that means that there are so many people who believe in this cause and who believe that ranked choice voting is worth the wait, it's worth the organizing, it's worth the money. So yeah, we would honestly like love anything that you guys would be able to provide. And we also have a special treat for everybody. So we're going to be doing our first ever merch giveaway. So I don't think National Rank the Vote merch has ever been published. So this is the first time ever that we're going to be doing anything with merch with the national branch. So how you can win, let me share my screen real quick so that way you guys can see exactly the merch that we're giving away. So our plan is to give away a brand new tote bag. Austin, do you carry around tote bags a lot?
Of course, I mean, it's a college necessity.
No, it really is because how are you going to exist without a tote bag at college? I will say it's kind of like my favorite thing to carry around with me. So, like we were saying, I use a tote bag almost every single day. Tote bags, like Austin said, are an absolute necessity in college and just for anyone in general. Whether you're carrying your books or your groceries, you can use a tote bag. So all you have to do in order to be entered into the raffle to win this tote bag is you can comment on our Instagram for the publicity for this specific podcast episode, our Facebook post for this podcast episode, our YouTube comments, because if you didn't know, we also post these recordings of us talking with our beautiful faces on YouTube on our Rank the Vote YouTube page, or you can use the Spotify Interact feature. And all you have to do is tell us your name, which state you're from, and what you're most excited about for the ranked choice voting movement. It could be literally anything that you're excited about to kind of see the changes. What changes do you want to see because of this system? And so we're going to read through all of these and we're going to randomly pick one and we'll reach out to you and send you your tote bag. So, like I said, this has never been released before. So, you guys are getting exclusive content here. Absolutely exclusive.
Yes, and I hope you guys enter into that giveaway. We're gonna so excited to see all your guys' messages and pick our random lucky winner. But thanks so much for listening today, guys. Check in 2 weeks for our next episode, and we'll have a special guest on with us as well. So as we finish off today with our slogan, embrace your voice, unlock the choice. Thank you guys.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you guys so much.